All right. And yes, there are noises in the background because we've got fans and stuff running. It is hot. And if you can't handle that, I am very, very sorry. Hi, I'm Donita from PrairieTrail.com. And
I am Emmy Beth Manor from the Manor.
all right. And we are going through the book of Ezekiel. Emmy and her family read the Bible. They are so good. She has 12 beautiful children, and she and her husband read the Bible with their children every single day. Don't ask me how they wrangle that crew to do that. She actually has a class on it, don't you? You've got some classes on how to wrangle the youngins and do Bible studies together.
We're definitely working on. We're working on it. We haven't gotten that out quite yet, but yes,
that one yet.
Yes, it is coming.
Anyway, yeah, she's got some amazing stuff. So if you haven't checked her out yet, go over to the Manor and definitely check her out. And yeah, they've been reading the book of Ezekiel, and it's like every day you're messaging me.
Yes.
It's like, oh my goodness, look what we found today. It's like, we ought to do some videos on this. We just should, because Ezekiel is crazy and we need to do some videos. So that's how this happened. That's how this happened. I'm not centered. Need to see my pretty tin hat in the background.
There it is. Hi,
Yeah.
tin hat.
It's covering up some other junk, so back there. But yeah, it was just like, this is crazy stuff. The Bible has some very, very interesting things. So I wanted to kind of start with what it is that we are doing. I'll do entire screen. It's a little okay. Bible Project has these, and if you go to Bible Project in their older videos, they actually do this in an animation, and they go through each book of the Bible and talk about what the themes are in each one of them and what's going on, and these are amazing. So if you haven't seen them, look up the Bible Project, please, and check them out. So Ezekiel 1 through 3. So Ezekiel is commissioned. And of course, through Ezekiel, he sees some pretty strange and unusual things. And some people want to make them into like UFOs or something. And we're going to, well, I mean, it's kind of a UFO. I mean,
it is.
It is. It would be very unidentified for most of us, right? But it's not as, it's not quite what most people think it is. So anyway, there's accusations against Israel and some things going on that God starts talking to Ezekiel about. So if you want to know what the theme of Ezekiel is about, definitely check out the Bible Project, and they do a really good thing on this. And then I have my timeline, and Ezekiel is right within this kind of area here, is what's going on. So, right? Yeah, I'm trying to remember, was Ezekiel...
well, he has his first vision 5 years into Jehoiachin's exile. So yeah, it's
okay. So right around in here.
Yeah.
Then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So okay.
So, yep.
So this is about 3,500-ish years after creation from Bible reckoning. And so that gives us kind of an idea here. I have King James Version pulled up. Emmy is reading out of what version?
The NASB.
Okay.
The New American. Yeah.
Okay. I will let you start.
Okay. Now it came about in the 30th year on the 5th day of the 4th month, while I was by the river Hibar among the exiles. The heavens were open, and I saw visions of God. On the 5th of the month, in the 5th year of King Jehoiakim's exile, the word of Jehovah came expressly to Ezekiel, the priest, son of Buzi, in the land of the Chaldeans by the river Kibar. And there the hand of Jehovah came upon him. As I looked, behold, a storm wind was coming from the north, a great cloud with fire flashing forth continually, and a bright light around it. And in the midst, something like glowing metal in the midst of the fire. Within it, there were figures resembling 4 living beings, and this was their appearance. They had human form. Each of them had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and their feet were like calves' hoofs, like a calf's hoof, and they gleamed like burnished bronze. Anybody like what is going on right now? Under their wings, on their 4 sides, were human hands. As for the faces and wings of the 4 of them, their wings touched one another. Their faces did not turn when they moved. Each went straight forward. As for the form of their faces, each one had the face of a man. All 4 had the face of a lion on the right and a face of the bull on the left, and all 4 had the face of an eagle. Such were their faces. Their wings were spread out above. Each had 2 touching another being and 2 covering their bodies. And each went straight forward wherever the Spirit was about to go. They would go without turning as they went. I should probably stop there. Yeah.
And what verse was that you ended in?
That was 12.
Oh, okay. I'm way down here. Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to pull up Dr. Heiser's Ezekiel. Oops, I didn't spell that right. I'm just cool. My spelling and my typing here lately. I know there's got to be yeah, that's right. Let's say throne. Maybe that'll come up with it.
Was that it right there? No.
No. He actually found, maybe it'll come up on Pinterest. Sometimes the powers that be don't want us to be able to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, not coming up yet. Let's do, just try throne and not put in Ezekiel. Good grief. I know I've got it somewhere. Wow, we're getting some really great stuff here. Let's see. It's like a pedestal for the throne, for the seat to sit on, that has wheels. So it's like an office chair on wheels. I'm trying to...
That's interesting.
Yeah. I know I've got the image somewhere. Throne base. Oh, good grief. Well, that's not giving me what I want. Well, we're starting to...
Getting there.
I'm surprised we're not ending up with toilets on here.
I know, right? That's what I was just thinking.
Let's see. Throne base. Sumerian, maybe? I don't think it would be that old. Babylonian. Because they had actually found one. Well, this is getting closer. We're getting closer. I can't believe it's not coming up with something, but they had like a wheel within a wheel would be like a caster. So frustrating when I can't.
Because that would just be something like how your shopping carts turn, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, kind of that it turns around, but it would be more like a ball bearing type situation, I think.
Oh, okay.
Where it's kind of like a wheel inside of a wheel type thing.
Okay. I think I can picture that.
Because that's what it says later in the thing. Do they have like a search? Okay, Chrome. Snippet. Some of these short. Some of these. Okay, Ezekiel. Oh, and I can't spell worth a hoot. No, I did spell it right. Ezekiel creature. Let's see what it does. There's a part 2. Let's see if there's images. Because I know I had images. I should be more organized than this. Isn't it great? This is probably after out of his podcast. Okay, here he's got a little bit of an explanation. He's got the eagle, the lion, the bull, and the cherub. And he's explaining that it's probably a creature something like this that has more than one set of wings, and the faces are on the different sides. I cannot believe we don't have the image.
Well, like you said, anything that looks like that might point people to what they could see. They don't really.
Yeah, it's hard to
want us to know.
But yeah, they want to make it out to be, a whole Ancient Aliens thing. And somebody had made a really good image of where, like I said, the throne was a seat. And this is kind of close, where you would have the wings going out to the sides. And it's like a footstool type thing, and the seat sets in it. And then you have, these would be more like casters under the hooves. And you know how some of the old furniture looks like a claw hoof or a claw foot?
Yes.
It would be like a hoof instead of the holes would be within that hoof piece.
Okay. Yeah.
So and then you had these creatures, but on each side you would have the different faces pointing to each side, type of thing.
Yeah.
So that way, whichever direction it's rolling is going to be going in that direction. They actually had these historical throne things like that would have made them like an office chair. Some of these are very interesting.
Yeah. Some of it's like, what?
Yeah. And it's not to say that maybe it isn't something a little bit more, drastic looking than what.
But it makes a lot of sense when you're looking at, that's what it means, where like 2 of them were touching the other's wings and 2 were covering their bodies. Because I was trying to picture that in my head. I'm like,
yeah,
because it's got the form of a man, like in my, that actually makes a whole lot of sense.
You've got but it would have been like bigger hooves with the ball on the inside. like a ball bearing type thing. Is basically, and they've actually found like carvings of those kinds of thrones in, the walls of the old buildings and stuff that actually prove that that's what it was.
That's
So
fascinating.
it makes a lot of sense that way.
Well, and
Not
then
a UFO as in, what we're usually kind of thinking. Again, more
yeah,
more like this. The seat was different, and then, you know,
but that would also again make sense with like the cloud, the fire flashing, a glowing metal in the midst of the fire, like talking about the radiance. I mean, when we talk about the glory of God, when we see it throughout the
right.
scriptures, we see like that's, and then his radiance, his glory,
Well, and
with
I
these
noticed
beings
in
surrounding
the
it.
yeah, in the King James it was saying the color of a beryl stone
Mm-hmm.
somewhere. And some like office chairs. I'm sitting in an office chair right now that has wheels on it, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
if you think about trying to show that to somebody, back in this time period, how are they going to explain it? And this one's got claws, like we
Yep.
would think of like a claw type thing. And they're not showing, but this could be, a ball under
Right.
under here. So, in the different directions. So they had stuff like this, and then the you know the throne chair would sit on top of that, be mounted on it.
Yes.
So yeah, and with God, I mean, I've got hydraulics in my chair, so the glowing and stuff could be a technology type thing.
I never
Of
thought about that, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I've got hydraulics in my chair, so what would God have in his chair? You
Yeah.
know,
I don't know.
is kind of the trying to think how that would work. So yeah, there's a whole lot going on there, but people try to make it like really mystical and stuff, and it's like, wait a minute.
What?
If
He's
people
seeing a
just think
vision.
things were like all magical and stuff. Hi, Mary. We've got somebody visiting. And so, yeah, it doesn't, not everything's just some mystical thing that we don't understand. We can just kind of think in an everyday thing. Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun. Therefore, everything that we have today, there has been before. That includes
Yes.
airplanes and everything. There have been, all of these things have been before. So,
Yes.
back in Ezekiel's time, they may have had, and it was probably even better because they had,
Probably.
we're going downhill. We're not going uphill, people. So the idea that, we don't have the technology, the lifespan, the brain capacity that they had,
Mm-hmm.
back then. So you think of an office chair today, the fanciest office chair that you can think of today, and theirs was 10 times better.
Yes. I've said that so much. It had to be better. It had to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially whenever we go back and we look at the buildings and stuff that they built and that they were living in.
Yes. Those
Just
buildings are incredible.
where he was probably even having this vision was probably like way beyond us. So,
Right. The Babylonian, we were talking about the wonders of the world the other day and the Babylonian gardens, right? So this would have been during, I think they would have been built during this time period, would they
yeah.
not have?
Yeah. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, then of course you have Solomon's Palace that was built even before that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, let's see. You were on 12.
Yep.
Okay.
So do you want to
You
read
want
it? You want me to keep going?
I was reading to 4-year-olds today. Not that you're not reading to 4-year-olds, but you might, if you can read, I'm thrilled to pieces.
No problem. Okay. In the midst of the living beings, there was something that looked like burning coals of fire, like torches darting back and forth among the living beings. The fire was bright, and lightning was flashing from the fire, and the living beings ran to and fro like bolts of lightning. Now, as I looked at the living beings, behold, there was one wheel on the earth beside the living beings for each of the four of them. The appearance of the wheels and their workmanship was like sparkling beryl, and all four of them had the same form, their appearance and workmanship being as if one wheel were within another. Whenever they moved in any of their four directions without turning as they moved. As for their rims, they were lofty and awesome, and the rims of all four of them were full of eyes round about. Whenever the living beings moved, the wheels moved with them, and whenever the living beings rose from the earth, the wheels rose also. Wherever the spirit was about to go, they would go in that direction, and the wheels rose close behind them, for the spirit of the living beings was in the wheels. Whenever
What
those
this makes me think of is, while he's down on the throne and he's doing his thing, it's got wheels so he can roll around, but it's also jet powered.
Yes, I was actually the earth, like a hovering thing. Yes.
Yeah, like so it can float. He's got a hovercraft, guys. He's got a hovercraft.
Oh man, yeah, I know. I'm trying to envision this, and like it's just like, whoo. Whenever those went, the whenever those went, these went, and whenever those stood still, these stood still, and whenever those rose from the earth, the wheels rose close beside them, for the spirit of the living beings was in the wheels. Yeah. So now over the heads of the living beings there was something like an expanse, like an awesome gleam of crystal spread out over their heads.
Isn't that
Under,
interesting? In King
uh-huh.
James, it says, "And the likeness of the firmament upon the heads of the living creatures was as the color of a terrible crystal stretched forth over their heads above." So, we've got so many images, especially in the medieval stuff, with like halos around people.
Yes.
And I know some people have said, well, that's sun god worship stuff. And I'm like, well, some people could have used it as a sun god worship type thing. I'm not going to argue that. But at the same time, the enemy always gets it from somewhere else. The enemy's always warping God's thing. So what would it have originally been in God's, creation? It might have been this, that, this chair has got like each one of the, and it's calling them living creatures. So it's not just like a chair, it's a living chair. It has mechanisms and stuff, but it is a living chair. So you're talking, I don't know, automaton with AI or something. I don't know. Right?
I don't know either. I'm trying, like, seriously, my mind is like trying to envision this. Even after reading it like 3 or 4 times recently, I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, if it's got power, like I said, hydraulics, because it's floating up into the air, rolling around on, in the throne room, doing all of these things, there's power to it, right?
Well,
So
yeah,
around the heads is maybe some kind of an aura or a halo-ish type thing showing,
yeah. Because what's a terrible crystal? Like, what is that? What does that mean?
Yeah, honestly. I mean, I guess we could look it up in the lexicon. That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Because mine just says the awesome gleam of crystal. Uh, Yeah, and the note says, or ice. But like that, crystal and ice, I mean, I guess ice can look like crystal, like when you got icicles hanging around, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost kind of thinking here, almost like the astronaut bubble around their head or something.
oh,
You know what I'm saying?
yes.
I mean, that's kind of where I'm at is, yeah, I mean, we know that that's all a bunch of hooey whatnot, but let's see, that was verse 22, right?
Yes, that was verse 22.
Okay. So I will keep going back and forth on the share screen. Make sure my share screen is working right because sometimes it won't come up. I think it's working. Let's see if the living beings, something like an expanse, like an awesome gleam of crystal spread out. See, this doesn't say terrible.
Yeah, well, that's because the lexicon is NASB, and then the
So maybe awesome,
the Strong's,
fearful.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah, maybe
to
that's where
fear.
instead of just a terrible crystal,
Well,
they're
look,
saying
to fear an eye, though. Look at that. Not what that says. Am I reading that correctly?
it is.
To
It is.
fear an eye. Ayin.
And the eye, appearance, appeared, broad, concern, confidence. So you got a lot in here, even maliciously. And remember that these Hebrew words, they can mean like all of them
Right.
at the same time, you know, so it's sparkling.
It almost sounds like just something that's just like, what is, like we would say, like, what is that?
Yeah, like attention grabbing. Like this is going to grab your attention type of thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that just very interesting.
Well, click on the to fear, because I think that would have been the word that was terrible in the concordance, in the Strong's.
So. Let's see.
So,
yep, terrible thing. Terrifying. Okay, so that kind of makes sense. Terrifying. Yeah, terrifying to behold, or very, very awesome to behold. So it's something that is a lot. And every time that somebody runs into an angel in the Bible, they're like fear and trembling and falling down, passing out and stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
And this is above their heads. Now, it doesn't say here, it says it stretches out and spreads out above, upon, over their heads. So it does almost make me think of like, you know, a helmet type thing or something, but it could just be well, it's crystal. So there's some, it's not just like a halo or an aura around there. It's a little bit more. So yeah, it's almost like a glass helmet around their heads. So I don't know, maybe they have to have some kind of a protection in order to be in the presence of God, to be able to, you know, like, can you imagine being in the presence of God? It's something that could take your breath away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we think of like space, and you know, and of course we know that space isn't what they say it is, but you know, some of the the guys that drive the jet pilots, you know, they have to have oxygen while they're flying and stuff. And some of that could be like G-forces and just they're going so fast that the air can't keep up with them. But it also, when we go up into the mountains, the air is thinner up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we're talking about way past up in the mountains.
Well, that's actually what almost came to mind. Is almost like, is it because because in the King James it does say the firmament, right? So it's like, is this throne almost like because you've also seen theories about like layers of the firmament, maybe, or something like that. So is it something like that's in those layers that? So it's like in that what we would call space
in between.
in between.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, once you get above the firmament, we know that Earth is his footstool. So he's up there, and we don't know what it is. You know, what do they have to live? We know God doesn't need air. No, I'm just going to put it that way. So, you know, maybe in order for them to just either be in his presence, or the throne room itself maybe has a different atmosphere or something. You know.
There's so many possibilities.
It's really interesting to think about.
It is. Okay. Woo. All right, because then, so we have under the expanse, their wings were stretched out straight toward one another. So that's interesting, because it says under the expanse, this says under the firmament there. Okay. One toward the other. Each one also had 2 wings covering its body on the one side and on the other. I also heard the sound of their wings like the sound of abundant waters as they went, like the voice of the Almighty, a sound of tumult like the sound of an army camp. Whenever they stood still, they dropped their wings. And there came a voice from above the expanse that was over their heads. Whenever they stood still, they dropped their wings. Now above the expanse that was over their heads, there was something resembling a throne, like lapis lazuli in appearance, and on that, which resembled a throne high up, was a figure that had with the appearance of a man. Then I noticed from the appearance of his loins and upward something like glowing metal that looked like fire all around within it, and from the appearance of his loins and downward I saw something like fire, and there was a radiance around him, as the appearance of the rainbow in the clouds on a rainy day, so was the appearance of the surrounding radiance. Such was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of Yahovah. And when I saw it, I fell on my face and heard a voice speaking. And there ends one.
Yeah, and there ends one. And I mean, I've heard, not just me here, but thinking that this is what we're seeing whenever we see the Northern Lights.
I'm wondering, yes.
Is we're seeing some of that there, because there's this radiance, there are these colors, there's all this going on. Beryl stone comes in a lot of different colors. So it mentioning beryl stone, it's got amber that it mentions, sapphire or lapis lazuli, which would be a very, you know,
like a very
very blue. Yes.
Yeah, so you've got ebon sapphire, which would be,
and beryl. I mean, the most popular beryl stone is probably emerald. So there you've got the green.
They got the green,
yeah. Whenever you're seeing those Northern Lights, you're seeing a lot of blues and greens and, you know, stuff.
The amber color,
yeah. And I think that just makes a lot of sense.
It does. It really does. But because it's also interesting too, because right under that it was saying that a voice came from above the expanse. So it's almost like whatever it is like hanging out there between the firmament. So you got
because you know, we talk about like the planets, the wandering stars, and that some are closer and some are further away. I don't doubt that might be the case if there are layers of the firmament, or we know there are layers of our atmosphere, right?
Exactly.
So if there's layers of the atmosphere and then layers of the firmament, then that could be where those are, and the wandering stars could be like, that's their area, right? And
Yeah.
then other stars, run in a circular pattern altogether. And it'd be fun to do this in conjunction with the Book of Enoch. I don't know if I have the brain power for it. But I know John and David Carrico and John Pounders over at Now You See TV have done a really good Book of Enoch study, and just very, very good. I definitely don't agree with them on everything, especially here lately, but it is a very, very good study. And anybody that you guys are listening to online, just chew up the meat and spit out the bones. Because none of us have got it all figured out. And if somebody says they've got it all figured out, run. Okay? And you will never hear me saying that I've got it all figured out. Ever, ever.
No, the more I learn, the more I realize I'm like, what? Like, I mean, how many times have I read Ezekiel and it's like, oh, I didn't catch that last time I read it. Like,
yeah, the more I learn, the
6
less I
know. So I didn't count all the times I read it before that.
Yeah. If I can find that throne thing, because I know I've saved it a couple of different times, and it should be in my Pinterest somewhere, because Dr. Michael Heiser did a teaching on that, on what that actually is, and he actually had a sketch that I think was from one of those Babylonian carvings. That I will see if I can find that and post it in the community stuff. I should have been more organized, but life's been kind of crazy here lately, and Emmy and I just knew if we don't just start doing this, we're not ever going to get it done. Because, I didn't get my video done last week. I did do quite a few little TikToks. So if you're on TikToks, I did TikToks. I can't put all of the TikToks over here on YouTube because YouTube doesn't like a lot of that stuff. So there's some things that TikTok does censor, but not as much as YouTube, it doesn't seem like. I've noticed JT follows JC. He's got a lot of stuff going on TikTok right now too. So anyway, don't be afraid. The Chinese are all up in your business because they're probably in your backyard, honestly. I know here in Oklahoma, they probably own more land than the Oklahomans do at this point. So it's really sad. It's true. Yes. We weren't planning to get into politics here, but
well, it fits in because it's like whenever we start wanting to fear those things, we just go look at Ezekiel 1 and be like, this is the God we're serving, and he's obviously so much bigger than that, and he will help us figure this out.
Amen, girl. Amen, girl. There's a lot of crazy things in the world today, but you go to Ezekiel and you're like, oh, this isn't good. I think Jeremiah and Lamentations can do that to you too. It's like, you want me to do what, Lord?
Right?
Yeah. All right. Well, whatever I'm having to do during the day isn't near what he had going on. Oh,
yeah. Because I'm like, this is I found very interesting too, though, is that he noticed that the appearance of this being had the appearance of a man. I find that very interesting because this would have been pre-incarnate Yeshua, and he still had the form of a man. Because I've always been, we've more been taught like he's like he now has the body and all that, but it's like he still has that form.
Well,
and I'm like, and he looked like bronze and all that, which is the exact same imagery we get in Revelation.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And he said he made us in his image.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is physically, creatively, emotionally. I think that's all the things.
Yeah.
So all of those things that we, struggle with and stuff, he gets
Yeah.
because he created us in his image. And people like to say, "Oh, God is love," and everything, and we get into a lot of trouble with that because it's not that God isn't love, but he is tough love. That is also justice
Mm-hmm.
and, righteous anger. And, when you love
Yeah.
your children, it doesn't mean you never get angry, upset, or, and that we we are showing God whether whether we want to or not. We are showing God in our parenting and in the workplace and in all of the things that we do. And we need to realize and give ourselves grace that these are aspects of him that he's given us. Hi, Crystal. He's given us aspects of him. We just don't handle it as well as he do.
Right. We're handling it in a fallen form.
Yeah,
Because sin taints it all.
yeah, because I mean, we ate off of the tree of the fruits of the knowledge of good and evil, and part of the reason that he probably told us not to is because he knew we couldn't handle
Mm.
that way of knowledge. Not that he wanted to keep knowledge from us, he gives us tons of knowledge.
Yes.
But I mean, we were baby people at the time, you know, and look what we do with knowledge today.
Mm.
We
Such a good
mess
point.
it up every single time. So, yeah, yeah,
And then we go back and here we go. All right. This is what we're looking at.
yeah, yeah. So, hopefully, we can put this into perspective. I hope you all enjoyed this, and we are going to try to keep going through this. I don't know if we'll do like one chapter with each one, but we'll, and we may not read through the whole thing every time. I don't know. I don't know. We may pick like pieces of each. I will try to get in the pinned comment in my video or in the description, one of the two, um, the Bible Project link and the lexicon link, some of the stuff that we've done. And if you would like the timeline, email me Donita at prairie-trail.com and I'll get you a copy of the timeline. So anyway, yeah, can you think of anything else, Emmy?
I don't think so. That was good.
You want
I
to close
just
us out in prayer?
absolutely. Father, we thank you so much for your word. And thank you that it is living and active and that we are constantly able to learn more about you and learn how to live. And also just to thank you for this reminder of how big and glorious and awesome and wonderful you are, especially when we look at the world around us and it is not that. I pray right now for those listening in that you will use your word to show them the way in Jesus, and just to that he is the way to you. He is the way, the truth, and the life. And I thank you. I thank you for that. And I pray as we study this book and we talk about it and think about how that affects us, I pray that we would remember that we are to fear you first and foremost. Our task is to please you by living according to what you have told us to do. And I pray that we will love each other in that process, because that is loving you. I thank you so much just for this fellowship, and we pray that you will continue to work mightily and that you will show us the path. that you have for each of us, that we would hear your voice behind us saying, "This is the way, walk in it." And I pray this in Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen. All right. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you, Mary and Crystal, for being here, and everybody else. And if you've got any questions or any other thoughts, please do leave them in the comments. I love hearing you guys' ideas and your input. So we will see y'all later.